Hello everyone. This 3-minute video introduces the two basic mechanisms for freeing the animals under the U.S. legal system. One mechanism goes through the elected branches of government, the other goes through the unelected branch, namely the judicial branch. The judicial branch approach includes several advantages. One advantage is that this approach only requires 5 of our 9 Supreme Court justices to change their minds about animals and animal rights. Another advantage is that this approach is fast and inexpensive, and that it only requires enough resources to bring a single lawsuit to completion. Disadvantages of the judicial branch approach include that of judicial legislation. In the U.S. legal system, legislatures, not courts, are properly empowered with fundamental lawmaking authority. Another drawback is that this approach ignores the original intent of those who wrote a given law, since the laws currently on the books were written with human beings in mind. Perhaps most importantly, the unelected branch approach ignores the basic criteria that modern political theory generally places as the cornerstone of governmental legitimacy, namely consent of the governed. The elected branch's approach takes care of this consent of the governed problem in that it proceeds according to the will of the people, at least to the degree that that will is expressed in their votes. This approach is also advantageous in that it necessarily builds a broad base of support throughout the culture, and that support will in turn be needed to enforce animal rights once those rights have been established. Additionally, this approach comports with separation of powers theory, since it relies upon the lawmaking authority of legislatures, not courts. A key disadvantage of the electoral process approach is that of difficulty. Building an abolitionist political party, such as the Humane Party, and passing the Abolition Amendment will require an enormous amount of time, effort, and resources. It's been over 150 years since a political party was successfully started in the U.S. That was the Republican Party of the 1850s. However, it's worth noting that both in that case and in the modern case, both movements were based on opposition to slavery, the difference simply being that the former movement was limited to human slavery, whereas the modern vegan abolitionist movement addresses all forms of slavery. The electoral process approach today will, just as it did then, face violent opposition. We should be prepared for that opposition, but not deterred by it. If you'd like to help with the electoral process approach, please let the Humane Party know through our website. We will definitely be looking forward to working with you. Thanks.